In the current very excited discussion about who's going to be president, I noticed that one of the candidates, Mrs. Fiorina, is stating that somebody needs to challenge the status quo. Absolutely. But somehow in church, the status quo is unchallengeable. It seems to have the massive power of tradition behind it. And anybody who challenges this is viewed as a disturber and not wanted. But supposing we try to gently suggest to the status quo that Jesus was a unitary monotheist, and that's proven by his quotation of the Shema. I have this wonderful statement from the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia, Volume 3, page 256. The writer there says, "We must be content with the simple observation, simple indeed, simple observation, that Mark's gospel assumes as a fundamental postulate, fundamental idea, criterion, the Jewish belief in one holy and righteous God." Note, the Jewish belief, whose will is revealed in his law. To the question of which commandment is the most important, Jesus replied in the orthodox Jewish fashion. The most important is, Jesus said in Mark 12:29, "The Lord our God is one Lord." He's quoting there from Deuteronomy chapter 6, adding later from Numbers and other verses in Deuteronomy, which any Jew at any stage in history would have done. But you see, Jesus was a Jew as well as being the founding teacher of Christianity. This great statement, says our excellent Bible dictionary here, the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia, this great statement, the Shema, of Hebrew monotheism underlies also Mark 10:18, where Jesus spoke of God being the only one who's God. Only God. This is thoroughly Jewish and easily recognized. And so our writer here says correctly, to confess the Shema was tantamount to confessing Judaism, taking on oneself the yoke of the kingdom. End of quote. But I thought that confessing Jesus ought to immediately lead us to confess what Jesus confessed. How is it that Jesus' affirmation of the Jewish Shema is not taken to be the heart of our Christian faith? It suggests that something has happened to remove us from Jesus. There's been a shift somewhere along the line where none of us questions the Lord's Prayer. We don't argue about that. None of us questions, love your neighbor as yourself. But who can face the fact that Jesus said that the Shema, the listen Israel, that's a command, the Lord our God is one single Lord? Why isn't that the foundation of true Christianity? After all, Christians claim to be following the teaching of Jesus. We claim that, but is this anything other than a hollow boast if we don't start where Jesus started, with the great creedal statement of his Jewish background? We must believe and obey Jesus to be saved. You'll find that in John 3:36. He who believes in the Son is doing well. He who disobeys the Son is not doing well. Hebrews 5:9 says that salvation is given only to those who obey Jesus. 2 John 7-9 warns against any moving away from the teaching of Messiah. If that's not fundamental, what is fundamental? And if the great commandment in Mark 12:29, echoing the great heritage of Israel, and of course Paul said that the God of the Jews is the same as the God of Christianity. Jesus said that salvation is from the Jews. Are we being Jewish enough to bother with the great creed of Jesus, or have we in an extraordinary way bypassed it and moved to our own definition of God, which really doesn't chime in with the very famous statement of Jesus in Mark 12:29, his Jewish God of Israel, God of the Jews, God of David, God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, indeed the God of Jesus. That might be the place where the status quo ought to be examined more carefully.